Sure, here's your expanded speech segment, written as if Dr. Anthony Hopkins is delivering it. Life is unpredictable. No matter how much we try to control things, there will always be moments that test us. Moments where the world feels like it's pushing against us. People will have opinions, situations will arise, and obstacles will stand in the way. But none of that truly matters unless we allow it to. The real challenge is not what happens to us, but how we respond, and that begins with mental resilience. Resilience is not about being immune to pain, disappointment, or difficulty. It's about standing firm in who you are no matter what comes your way. It's about understanding that external circumstances don't define you, you define you. The problem is most people go through life reacting to everything as if they're at the mercy of the world. They get upset over criticism, discouraged by setbacks, and shaken by uncertainty. But that's a choice. It's a habit formed over time, a learned behavior. And just as it's learned, it can be unlearned. You have to train your mind the way you train a muscle. If you go to the gym once and expect to be strong, you're fooling yourself. Strength comes from consistency. The same applies to your mental resilience. Every day, life will present opportunities to strengthen your mind or to let it weaken. A rude comment, an unexpected failure, a stressful situation. These are tests. And in that moment, you get to decide, do I let this affect me or do I stay in control? People spend far too much energy trying to change the world around them when the real solution is to change the way they interact with the world. You can't stop people from talking. You can't stop situations from unfolding. You can't prevent every setback. But what you can do is refuse to give those things the power to shake you. When you build that kind of mental strength, the world loses its grip on you. And that's when you truly become free. Think about how many times in your life you've allowed something insignificant to ruin your day. A stranger's opinion, a temporary inconvenience, a minor failure that you blew out of proportion. But in the grand scheme of things, did it really matter? Did it deserve your peace? Imagine if, instead of reacting emotionally, you simply let it pass, like a gust of wind. Imagine how much lighter you would feel. The secret is understanding that not everything requires a reaction. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every situation needs an emotional investment. The strongest people are not those who never face hardship, but those who refuse to let hardship define them. They understand that resilience is a decision, not a personality trait. It starts with self-discipline. You have to catch yourself in the moment. When something threatens to affect you, pause. Ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? Most of the time, you'll find that it isn't. And the more you practice this, the stronger you become. There's a certain power in refusing to be affected. It confuses people. It disarms negativity. When someone expects a reaction from you and doesn't get it, they lose their control. When life throws obstacles your way and you remain steady, you win, not because the world changed, but because you did. And here's the truth. Peace isn't found in a perfect life. It's found in a powerful mind. The kind of mind that doesn't get shaken by trivial things. The kind that can walk through chaos without becoming chaotic. That's real strength. That's real freedom. So from this moment on, make a decision. Decide that nothing, not a word, not a setback, not a circumstance, will have the power to break your spirit. Let the world do what it will. Let people say what they will. But you remain. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, should have the power to affect you unless you allow it. There's so much noise in the world today. Everywhere you turn, there's an opinion, a distraction, a demand for your attention. People will tell you who you should be, what you should do, how you should feel. The world is loud, but here's the thing. You don't have to listen to all of it. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everything requires your energy. Most people don't realize how much power they give away simply by letting everything in. They absorb every comment, every criticism, every expectation. They allow the opinions of strangers to dictate their self-worth. They let fear of judgment hold them back. They let negativity seep into their mind, not realizing that they have the ability to filter it out. You are not a sponge. You are not here to soak up every bit of noise that comes your way. You are in control of what you accept and what you reject. And 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 if you don't take control of that, the world will do it for you. There will always be people who doubt you. There will always be voices telling you what's possible and what isn't. If you listen to every one of them, you will never move forward. You will hesitate, second guess yourself, and shrink into a version of yourself that pleases others but suffocates you. And for what? To meet the expectations of people who don't walk in your shoes, to conform to a standard that was never yours to begin with? That is no way to live. You have to decide what gets in and what stays out. Think of your mind like a house. Not everyone gets a key. Not every thought, every comment, every piece of negativity deserves a seat at your table. If you let just anyone in, they'll rearrange your furniture, make a mess of your space, and leave you to deal with the chaos. But if you guard your door, if you are intentional about what you allow inside, your space remains yours, your peace remains yours. Filtering out the noise isn't about ignoring reality, it's about being selective with what you give importance to. Some people mistake resilience for indifference, but they're not the same. Resilience is about recognizing what truly matters and refusing to be distracted by what does. It's about protecting your energy so that you can focus on what moves you forward instead of being weighed down by things that hold you back. Ask yourself, how many times have you allowed someone's words to affect your mood? How many times have you let a passing opinion make you doubt yourself? How many times have you replayed negativity in your mind long after it happened? That's a choice. It might not feel like one in the moment, but it is. The same way you can choose to dwell on negativity, you can choose to let it pass. The same way you can let the noise in, you can shut it out. And here's the truth, most of the noise isn't even about you. People project their own fears, their own limitations, their own insecurities onto others. When someone tells you that you can't do something, what they really mean is they don't believe they can. When someone tries to tear you down, it's because they're battling something within themselves. Understanding that changes everything. It makes their words lose power. It makes their opinions irrelevant. So don't carry what was never yours to begin with. Don't let someone else's doubts become your reality. Don't let the world's distractions pull you away from your own path. Instead, focus on what builds you. Focus on the voices that uplift, the energy that strengthens, the thoughts that serve you. And if something doesn't serve you, let it go. Let it pass like background noise in a crowded room. You don't have to engage with it. You don't have to make it part of your story. Because at the end of the day, you are the one who decides what matters. And the moment you take control of that, when you stop letting in the unnecessary noise, the world will no longer shake you. You will move through life with clarity, with purpose, and with a peace that no one can take away. There's a moment between action and reaction where everything is decided, a split second where you get to choose how you respond, what you allow to affect you, and what you let go of. But most people don't see it. They move through life on autopilot, letting emotions control them instead of the other way around. They get angry without thinking, upset without questioning, defensive without understanding. And in doing so, they hand over their power, allowing circumstances, rather than their own mind, to dictate how they feel. But you don't have to live that way. You don't have to be a slave to your reactions. You don't have to let the outside world pull your strings like a puppet. Because the truth is, nothing has power over you unless you allow it to. Not a word, not an insult, not a setback, not even failure itself. What affects you is not the event, it's your reaction to the event. That's where your strength lies, in the space between what happens and how you choose to respond. Most people believe they have no choice in how they react. They say things like, I can't help it, that's just how I am, or they made me angry, or that situation stressed me out. But do you see what's happening there? They're giving away responsibility. They're saying, I have no control. Something else is in charge of my emotions. But that's not the truth. The truth is, you always have control. You may not feel like it in the moment, but it's always there, waiting for you to claim it. Think about the last time something upset you. Maybe someone said something cruel. Maybe you faced an obstacle that felt unfair. Maybe things didn't go as planned. Whatever it was, ask yourself, was it the situation itself that caused your frustration, or was it your interpretation of it? Was it the words that hurt or the meaning you attached to them? Was it the failure that broke you or the way you let it define you? You see, emotion is a reaction, not a requirement. Just because something happens doesn't mean you have to respond in a way that damages you. You don't have to get angry every time you're provoked. You don't have to feel defeated every time you face difficulty. You don't have to take everything personally. This is a mistake people make. They internalize things that were never meant to be held onto. They let temporary moments create permanent scars. But what if, instead of reacting emotionally, you paused? What if, before letting anger, stress, or doubt take over, you simply took a breath? That's the difference between people who are controlled by their emotions and people who control them. That pause, that moment of awareness is everything. It's where your power is, because the moment you become aware of your reaction, you gain control over it. And once you have control, nothing can shake you. Some people hear this and think it means suppressing emotions, but that's not it at all. This isn't about pretending things don't bother you. It's about choosing not to let them consume you. It's about acknowledging what you feel without letting it dictate your actions. Because emotions come and go. They are fleeting, temporary, unreliable. But your decisions, your words, your actions, those have lasting consequences. And if you allow fleeting emotions to dictate lasting choices, you will always feel like you're at war with yourself. Imagine what your life would look like if nothing could throw you off balance. If you could face criticism without feeling attacked. If you could deal with setbacks without losing confidence. If you could walk through chaos and remain calm. That is the power of emotional control. That is the strength of choosing your response rather than reacting out of habit. The world will always test you. People will push buttons, situations will challenge you, and life will throw things your way that you didn't expect, but none of it has to affect you unless you allow it to. You are in control, whether you realize it or not. And the moment you stop letting your emotions run the show, you'll understand just how much power you've had all along.
Most people go through life reacting to everything around them without ever stopping to ask why. Why do certain words get under their skin? Why do certain situations trigger anger, fear, or insecurity? Why do they feel the need to prove themselves to people who don't matter? They never ask, and so they never understand. They move through life like a boat in rough waters, tossed around by every wave, never realizing they have the ability to steer. But everything changes the moment you start looking inward. The moment you stop blaming the outside world and start asking yourself, what inside me is being affected? Self-awareness is power. It is the difference between being controlled and being in control. It is the ability to recognize your own patterns, to understand your triggers, to see where your emotions come from instead of letting them control you. Because the truth is, no one can make you feel anything unless there is something inside you that allows it. If someone insults you and you feel nothing, their words have no power. But if someone says something and it stings, it's not just about what they said, it's about what you already believe on some level. That's what most people don't realize. The things that affect you the most are often just reflections of your own insecurities. Think about it. If you are truly confident in yourself, does criticism shake you? If you know your worth, do you need validation from others? If you are secure in who you are, does rejection define you? No. It only affects you if there's a part of you that doubts, a part of you that is still seeking external approval. And until you confront that, you will always be at the mercy of the world around you. Most people try to fix this by controlling their environment. They avoid situations that make them uncomfortable. They try to silence critics. They surround themselves with only the people who agree with them. But that's not strength, that's avoidance. True strength comes from facing the discomfort, from looking at yourself honestly and saying, what is this reaction teaching me about myself? Because once you understand yourself, no one else can use you against you. Imagine being untouchable, not because the world is kind, not because people stop criticizing, but because you know yourself so well that nothing anyone says can shake you. Imagine walking into any situation with full confidence, knowing that your worth isn't up for debate. Imagine how freeing that would be. That is the power of self-awareness. That is the foundation of true resilience. But this isn't something that happens overnight. It takes work, it takes reflection, it takes the willingness to be uncomfortable, to ask yourself hard questions, to confront the parts of yourself that you may not want to see. It requires you to stop running from yourself. Most people don't do this because it's easier to blame the outside world. It's easier to say, they made me feel this way, instead of asking, why did I let this affect me? But if you want real strength, real freedom, you have to go deep. You have to notice the patterns. Every time you get angry, every time you feel insecure, every time something gets under your skin, stop and ask yourself, what is this revealing about me? Not about them, not about the situation, about you. Because if something is causing a reaction in you, it means there's something inside you that needs to be understood. The more you do this, the more control you gain. And the more control you have, the less anything outside of you can affect you. This is not about being emotionless. It's about being aware of your emotions. It's about making sure that what affects you is a choice, not an automatic reaction. It's about knowing yourself so well that nothing can shake you unless you allow it to. Because when you understand yourself, when you truly see yourself, the world no longer has the power to define you. And when the world can no longer define you, nothing can break you. Everything you experience in life, every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt, it's all shaped by the meaning you give it. Two people can go through the exact same situation and walk away with completely different perspectives. One sees failure, the other sees a lesson. One feels defeated, the other feels motivated. One blames the world, the other looks within. The difference is not in what happens, it's in how they choose to interpret it. Because at the end of the day, it's not the event that holds power, it's the story you tell yourself about it. Most people don't realize how much of their suffering comes from their own mind. They hold on to past mistakes as if replaying them will somehow change what happened. They interpret rejection as proof that they're not good enough. They see obstacles as signs to stop instead of challenges to overcome. But none of these things are inherently negative. They only become negative when you decide they are. And that's the key. You decide. You assign meaning. You choose how to interpret what happens to you. And in that choice lies all of your power. Think about how often you react based on assumption rather than fact. Someone doesn't respond to your message right away, and suddenly you assume they're ignoring you. A plan falls through and you assume life is working against you. You don't get the result you wanted and you assume you're not capable. But is any of that true? Or is it just the meaning you've created? What if the person was just busy? What if the setback was actually redirecting you to something better? What if the failure was just part of the process, not the end of it? Most of the things that upset you, stress you, or make you feel small are not about the situation itself. They're about the way you're choosing to see it. That's why it's so important to be aware of the stories you tell yourself. If you go through life seeing every hardship as a personal attack, you will always feel like a victim. If you believe that every mistake is proof of your inadequacy, you will never take risks. If you see challenges as punishments instead of opportunities, you will always feel stuck. But the moment you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. You start to see failure as feedback. You start to see rejection as redirection. You start to see that nothing is happening to you, it's happening for you. But this requires discipline. It's easy to let emotions take over, to jump to conclusions, to assume the worst. It takes effort to pause and reframe, to step back and ask, is there another way to see this? That's where growth happens. That's where resilience is built. Not in avoiding challenges, but in facing them with a different mindset. Because when you train your mind to look for possibilities instead of problems, you stop feeling powerless. You realize that no matter what happens, you still have control. Control over how you see it, how you respond, and what you do next. The strongest people are not the ones who have never struggled. They are the ones who have struggled and refused to let it define them. They are the ones who have faced setbacks and chosen to move forward anyway. They are the ones who take full ownership of their perspective, who don't let the world dictate how they feel or what they believe about themselves, because they understand that nothing has meaning until they give it meaning. So the next time life throws something unexpected your way, pay attention to the story you tell yourself. If it makes you feel small, change it. If it makes you feel defeated, rewrite it. If it convinces you to stop, challenge it. Because nothing, no failure, no rejection, no hardship has the power to define you unless you allow it to. The meaning is yours to create, and in that you will always find your strength. Most people spend their lives carrying things they were never meant to hold on to. The weight of past mistakes, the opinions of others, the fear of what might go wrong. They walk around burdened by things that drain them, things that keep them stuck, things that serve no purpose other than to hold them back. But the truth is, you are only as free as you allow yourself to be. The things that weigh you down, the things that keep you up at night, the things that make you doubt yourself, they only have power because you continue to hold on to them. Letting go is not about pretending something didn't happen. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing not to let what happened define you. It's about realizing that no matter what you've been through, no matter what someone said, no matter how much time you wasted in the past, you don't have to carry it with you anymore. You don't have to relive old wounds just because they happened. You don't have to keep playing the same story in your head just because it was once true. The past only exists if you keep bringing it into the present. But people struggle with this because they mistake holding on for strength. They think if they keep replaying a mistake, they'll somehow learn from it. They think if they hold on to anger, they're protecting themselves from being hurt again. They think if they refuse to move on, they're staying loyal to the past. But none of that is strength. Strength is knowing when something no longer serves you and having the courage to release it. Strength is choosing peace over resentment. Strength is deciding that your future matters more than what's behind you. Imagine how different your life would feel if you weren't carrying unnecessary weight, if you weren't replaying old conversations in your mind, if you weren't holding on to people who have already let go of you, if you weren't trying to control things that are completely out of your hands. Imagine how much lighter, how much freer, how much more at peace you would be. That kind of freedom doesn't come from fixing the past. It comes from deciding that the past no longer has permission to control you. Most of what we hold on to isn't even about the situation itself. It's about what we make it mean. We don't hold on to failure because of the event itself. We hold on to it because we think it means we aren't good enough. We don't hold on to rejection because of what was said. We hold on to it because we think it means we are unworthy. But what if we let go of the meaning we attach to it? What if we decided that failure was just a lesson, not an identity? What if rejection wasn't proof of our inadequacy, but simply redirection? What if everything we once saw as a burden was actually an opportunity to grow? Letting go is a choice. It's a decision you have to make over and over again until it becomes second nature. It's reminding yourself that your energy is too valuable to waste on things you can't change. It's understanding that you don't have to hold on to pain just because it once felt familiar. It's realizing that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to live fully, instead of being trapped in what was. You will never find peace if you are constantly looking back. You will never be happy if you are still making room for things that hurt you. And you will never become who you are meant to be if you are still chained to who you used to be. Letting go is not about losing, it's about making space. Space for new experiences, new perspectives, new opportunities, and new versions of yourself that you haven't even met yet. Because the moment you release what no longer serves you, you step into everything that was always waiting for you.